Good evening, everyone. My name is Councillor Vicky Jelly and I'm the Mayor of the Warrnambool City Council, and I'll be chairing tonight's additional council meeting. I would like to formally welcome everyone watching this council meeting tonight. This additional council meeting will be conducted in accordance with council's governance rules, and any interruptions to the meeting or actions not in line with behaviour expectations will be dealt with in accordance with these rules. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for the opening prayer. We will now proceed to the items on the agenda, commencing with the opening prayer and acknowledgement of the traditional owners. Almighty God, grant to this council wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of this city. Amen. I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we stand and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. Are there any apologies for this evening's meeting? No, thank you. We'll move to the next item. Agenda item number 3, conflicts of interest. If a councillor has a conflict of interest, they must declare it now and do so again just prior to the item being discussed. A councillor who's declared a conflict of interest must leave the meeting and remain outside the room while the matter is being considered or any vote is taken. Once the matter is resolved, the councillor will return to the meeting. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest?
Madam Mayor, I have a conflict of interest in the 4.3.1 Schedule of Fees and Charges, local laws regarding car parking. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Taylor. Okay. Councillors, we are now moving to the officers' report section of the agenda. I would like to remind you of the speaking times allocated for each item during the meeting as outlined in our governance rules. The mover of a motion may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes to open the debate and then a further 2 minutes on to exercise their right of reply and to close the debate. Any other councillor, including the seconder, may speak for or against a motion for no more than 3 minutes. To assist councillors with time limits, you will hear a signal when you have reached the maximum time allowed. I'd ask you to respect these time minutes, please. Agenda item 4, reports. 4.1 is the Council Plan 2021 to 2025, agenda page number 5. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider adoption of the Council Plan 2021-2025. Councillors, are there any questions on this item before I seek a motion? No. Thank you. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
My motion is to accept the officers' recommendations.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ziegler. Thank you. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to completing some of the really exciting projects that are already happening here in the city. The council needs to be working hard at looking at what our future opportunities are going to be. We've got a state-of-the-art sport complex coming in Reed Oval, a new library which will be great for everyone, and the Lake Bratobe redevelopment. But in the next 4 years, council needs to be working hard. We need to be working at what's our next projects, what's our next ideas, and what are our next aspirations. It's in here in this plan. I really do hope that council is shovel ready, because there will be opportunities presenting themselves for funding, and hopefully, I look forward to be able to deliver for the community for the next 4 years. Thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thank you, Councillor Blaine. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I do, Councillor Jelly, yes. Just for clarification for the residents about this, we do have the 2040 plan, and this next 4-year plan is actually our guidance to achieve the aims and goals in the 2040 plan, keeping in mind that the 2040 plan is a fluid document And we have set our own objectives for our period in office. So, as Councillor Blaine has already said, we've got some exciting things happening. We've also got to be careful husbands of the finances. We have to keep it affordable, which relates to the subsequent parts of tonight's meeting, without going overboard with huge projects and big spending. We've got to be quite careful about the way we look at our aspirations for the future.
Thanks, Councillor Ziegler. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? No? Councillor Paspaliaris?
I echo the sentiments of Councillor Ziegler in terms of what is outlined in our council plan, where our new councillor group is somewhat focused on a conservative approach to the use of council resources. And whilst we are mindful of being aspirational with some of the projects that Councillor Blaine has referred to, we do have to be responsible on a limited budget, but we'd also like to see the basics done well overall. So I think part of our council plan, a part that's important is a hope to focus on more advocacy for our community and region when it comes to funding and addressing projects and issues. And I think also part of the plan, one aspect that I do like is where the plan strives to create more opportunity in not only summer-based tourism and events, but capturing our city and region's charming colder months as a winter getaway and tourist attraction. And of course, the Warrnambool 2040 plan provides an overarching framework for the council plan, whilst the activities and initiatives guide the operational component, the how we get things done. As some of the comprehensive community interaction and engagement used earlier this year shows, in terms of helping formulate this council plan, we are here to encourage respectful dialogue and ongoing engagement with our community. And whilst this is a 4-year plan, as noted, it will be reviewed annually, and we obviously as a group are very open to continued feedback. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Paspaliaris. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Taylor?
Madam Mayor, I would also like to endorse the council plan and endorse quite a few comments Councillor Blaine has mentioned, that we are in for an exciting time over the next 4 years. The upgrade of the Stanley Street Bridge, I think, will be extremely significant for Warrnambool. The possible sail-outs upgrade, the new library hub and the completion of the Lake Bateau master plan. So I think we have a lot to look forward to over the next 4 years. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Taylor. Anyone else? No? All good. Okay. There being no further speakers, Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
Yeah, just quickly, Mayor Jelly, just on the council plan, it's going to be important though that council is shovel ready with a lot of projects, with all these projects, in order to be able to capitalise on the funding opportunities that should present themselves to us over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. 4.2, Revenue and Rating Plan, agenda page number 10. This purpose of this report is to consider Council's proposed revenue and rating plan for adoption. Councillors, are there any questions before I seek a motion? No questions? That's good. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Arnott, what is your motion?
I'll move the motion to accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris, thank you. Councillor Arnott, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would. I would just like to point out that Council has removed the short-term accommodation rating, but we would also take notice we will be revisiting and looking at the most effective treatment of short-term accommodation properties to ensure our rating equity across all properties within the municipality. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Paspaliaris, would you like to speak to?
Yes, thank you. Obviously, the plan outlines how council calculates the revenue required to fund its activities and services, and the main revenue stream is rates. Obviously, other revenue streams include fees from holiday parks, livestock exchange, and statutory fees, including planning and subdivision fees. I do believe that it's incumbent on this council group to try and seek further or additional revenue streams for council, as the reliance on rates and increases is great. Whether I agree with it or not, the retraction of the Airbnb proposal from this year's revenue and rating plan does mean that the council is listening, I believe, to community concerns in terms of consistency and approach. However, I do believe there needs to be further regulation on this front. One thing on that I wanted to clarify with a lot of the feedback received was that the proposed changes that were suggested did not mean an increase of rates overall, as in council's pocket, but more a redistribution of those rates. As I said, just for clarification purposes. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Ziegler?
Just with reference to that section that's been removed, it's worthy of note that we need to do a bit more work on the Airbnb and that rating differential, and that's I'm very pleased to see it's been taken out so that we can have a closer look at it and get it right.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Blaine?
I echo Councillor Paspaliaris's and Councillor Ziegler's comments. It is good to see council's decided not to move on commercially rating commercial Airbnb properties as commercial rates. You know, we've got to be so careful with everything that we do to make sure that everything we do is equitable. Like the way it was looking at the moment, you know, it was only around 20% of Airbnb properties look like they're actually going to get this commercial rate. If we're going to, it just isn't fair. We've just got to make sure we can enforce these rules for everyone, not just a few. It will be exciting to see a change in this space, but I really think that it's not just council who has to do work. We have to work with the state government as well to make sure this is something that can be applied across the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Blaine. Anyone else like to speak? No? All good? Okay, there being no further speakers, Councillor Arnott, would you like to speak before closing the debate?
No, thank you.
Okay. I would just, sorry, I should have said it before, but I would like to reiterate about the Airbnb situation, that we need more information, but also, as Councillor Blaine put it there, it's a state government issue really, so we will be taking it to the Municipal Association Victoria, the MAV, for discussion with them as an overarching issue throughout the state. So I think that will be a really good thing for Warrnambool City Council to go to them with, for them to look at. So I think that's great. Okay, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, 4.3 now. Councillor Taylor, you declared a conflict of interest. You're going to leave the meeting now, seeing you?
I'll stay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, 4.3, Warrnambool City Council Budget 2021-2022. Agenda page number 20. The purpose of this report is to present the proposed 2021-2022 budget for Warrnambool City Council, including a recommendation to adopt the budget. Councillors, are there any questions before I seek a motion? Nothing? Okay, councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Arnott, What is your motion?
I'll move that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Okay, would anyone like to second that? A second for the motion. Councillor Coyce, thank you. Councillor Arnott, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I will speak to the motion. Thank you, Mayor Jolly. As we all know, budget time is always a contentious time, and particularly this year, in a year of COVID and the impact that has had on council. Now, our council has worked hard to align the budget with the council plan and vision, and our vision is to have a sound financial and sustainable organisation. It also means that we are faced with some difficult decisions, and all of us on council would have liked to afford the community a rate freeze. There's no doubt about that. But however, we've done our research, and unfortunately that is just not good economic policy. A rate freeze in effect costs council $600,000 per year, which has a compounding effect. So after 5 years, that extra cost to council is $3 million. I do not feel comfortable putting that amount of money and that amount of debt onto council. It is simply not good policy. We provide many services to the community, which I do not want to see reduced, and that is what has to happen if we, in effect, have a rate freeze. The conclusion is that we have a 1.5% rate rise in line with the state recommendation, and it equates to, on average, a cost of $32 per year, approximately 65 cents a week. I would also like to make note that for every $100 council collects, we get to keep only $3.50. We have put in place a hardship policy for those who are in genuine need, and I urge those affected to make use of it. I also want to comment on the parking fees. On the subject of parking fees, there has not been any fee increase since 2017. And to offset the parking fee increase, council have been able to offer 1 hour free parking in Parkers, Ozone and Cramen car parks. This means in reality, you're going to be able to park in the CBD for 2 hours for $2, $1 per hour. Workers can access 2,000 free car parks on the CBD edges if they are prepared to walk. Council certainly has to look for new income streams and reducing costs. We have to use all the levers available to us. We do have a forecast surplus of $1.6 million, approximately 2% of the budget. And as we all know, that can easily disappear with any unforeseen events that might crop up. So, Madam Mayor and Councillors, I support the motion to adopt this budget. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Arnott. Councillor Coyce, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Councillor Arnott mentioned, that budget is soul and spirit of any organisation. Tonight is very decisive, very important night to go through our budget and see into it that for 4 years to come, or for next year, we have that's 2021, 2022. We have something in place where we can implement all the plans and what we think for our city. For the increment of rate is 1.5. It's a fair go rate of under Victoria government. So it's not something new that we have created. It is there in the system. So I do see that we pass the budget as it is tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Koish. Are there any other councillors that wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Ziegler.
This one's been a vexed issue, quite obviously amongst the councillors as well as amongst the community. It always is budget time when it comes to talking about rates. I argued during the briefings that I didn't want to see a rate rise. I actually mentioned, keeping the figure down. I didn't want to see a freeze because I think that would be completely irresponsible in terms of the council, the debt that we're carrying, and the fact that this debt and the financial pressures that are on us were legacies from previous councils. Some of the greatest critics of a rate rise have been responsible for some of those debts that we're faced with and dealing with. We have to be responsible. I've always argued that we have to keep the rates affordable for people. And to that end, I helped to instigate the hardship clauses that we've put in. We've strengthened those. I've made them more obvious to the ratepayers that if you have trouble paying your rates, you've got ways in which the council can help you, make it easier. We've made those much more public and obvious. I wasn't happy unless that was in place. In terms of the parking, I believe I argued very strongly in my campaign that we go for free parking. I wasn't able to get that through. What I have been pleased to see is that we've got the 1 hour free parking, and we've created a motivation for employees of the CBD businesses to actually have to walk a bit further to work. So they park further out, they pay their $4, cheap for all-day parking. It's up to the employees and the employers' businesses to make sure their staff don't take up the places of the shoppers, the people who are the ones that keep their businesses alive. So I'm hoping next year to be able to incrementally improve that. I want to ultimately see free parking for the CBD without any kind of fees. I'd be more than happy to see the end of the meters as well. So you're on notice. That's what I'm going to be doing in subsequent years, looking to an incremental improvement in the parking fees. I think that's probably seen me out. I don't have much more to say on that.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. This budget includes a rate increase of 1.5%, which obviously is in line with the state government rate cap. I appreciate the councillors and council officers have been mindful of always trying to ensure some financial sustainability. And I guess historically previous councils have upped rates prior to the rate cap coming in at exorbitant types of rates, and that money seems to have gone missing or wasted or spent elsewhere. I think this council has also been mindful of having some things or approaching some issues in a with a cost-neutral focus in mind, and I think that is responsible. However, given the last 18 months or so of COVID, obviously in the last 6 months even of continued snap lockdowns and circuit breakers, I personally believe that an organisation such as ours with an $80 to $90 million budget has the capacity to find possibly an extra 600,000 or so that a rate increase can bring. So I believe we can find efficiencies over the next 12 months that can substitute for a rate rise. I'm not asking for a rate freeze every year, but I think this year, or this past 18 months, has been exceptional. I do think that there are small business owners that are paying rates on commercial properties that they don't own, and there is increased burden because of lockdowns, forcing these businesses to close periodically, and also not even just reopen normally. They have to reopen slowly and rather painfully, a lot of them, without the support or safety net of JobKeeper anymore. I think it's honourable for Council to propose a more visible hardship policy this year, but I do feel that a rate increase in this particular year is not warranted. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other councillor who would like to speak? Councillor Blaine?
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. In my view, the rise in rates shouldn't be seen as a given by council. The Warnable community have made their views clear with many of the submissions supporting a rates freeze. I do agree. I totally understand we can't freeze rates every year, but after the effects of the pandemic, I think it's right for council to be offering relief to ratepayers. It's also interesting to note, and in this year's community satisfaction survey, around 52% of respondents said they prefer service reviews instead of a rates rise. It makes me ask the question, is council really listening? The effect of the pandemic isn't over either. If we look at the snap lockdown a few weeks ago, we're still trying to keep this virus at bay, and it's going to be with us for another 18 to 24 months. And this won't happen until our community is vaccinated. I am sure that every Warrnambool ratepayer pay their share of revenue to council now, and we should be looking within council to make sure that every service council offers is delivering to the highest standards, not just supporting failing business models. The council staff do an amazing job with the resources they have available to them. Council need to make sure the right people are working in the right areas with the right tools. I don't want to see them just do their jobs, but to excel and feel valued at everything that they're doing. Flagstaff Hill is a really good example of this, with a dedicated team of staff and volunteers who work hard at running, but currently there is no long-term plan on how it can be made sustainable. More money from ratepayers isn't going to fix this issue. It's council who needs to work with the Warrnambool community and the staff to make a sustainable plan for the future. The continued subsidisation of the facility isn't going to fix it. We need to be looking at what can be done better. I think council needs to show Warrnambool we have our house in order and have found efficiencies for the long-term viability of every service before we're hitting our community for more money. I don't think a rate freeze is warranted just because our neighbouring councils did it. It's because Warrnambool ratepayers are paying their fair share and the community deserves relief. I think council needs to make sure it's running to its maximum capacity without any waste of its precious resources. There are impacts to the budget that will need to be managed, like the MAV work cover insurance scheme and the asset renewal gap. But it should not be a hit to ratepayers. It should be manageable within our current revenue streams. I also think after a pandemic where many traders and workers have been unable to earn their usual incomes due to lockdowns, raising the parking 43% in the CBD is totally out of touch with expectations of small business owners, workers and customers within the CBD. I think the traders that continue to operate in the CBD are some of the most resilient business owners in the country. Over the past few years, the CBD traders have been competing with the other shopping centres in Warrnambool, went through a major downturn from the CBD renewal, and on top of that found themselves last year having a pandemic which slowed and closed many of their businesses over the year. I take my hat off to those still operating in the CBD. It's sad to see over 30 shops that are empty now up our main street. How are the traders supposed to remain competitive with the other shopping centres that offer free parking when council is proposing to increase parking 43% in one hit? I'm sure council forgets most other centres around Warrnambool offer free parking. The staff who work in the CBD are going to be hit around $250 more per year to go to work. In my view, this isn't right. The CBD was designed to be a shopping destination, to spend hours. How would the average customer have time to enjoy the CBD with 1 hour free parking? It seems like this plan, the long-term shoppers are subsidising the 1 hour free parking. It seems that at 2 hours, we'll still get the turnover. We might give the customers a chance to spend more time and more money in the CBD, supporting our traders. I've heard if you don't want to pay for parking, walk to the shops. It's not council's role, in my view, to be dictating to customers how they go to the shops to spend their money. Especially with an ageing population here in Warrnambool, it isn't always possible. There are customers who are great supporters of our local businesses. But I ask, if by raising parking 43%, is this encouraging shoppers into our CBD or just driving them away? In my view, it should be the aim of council to be supporting our traders and shoppers so our CBD not only survives but thrives. The idea we put the parking up so what off they go to other centres isn't what I want for the CBD.
I think we're nearly at our time.
Can I please have an extension? It's just this is a really important vote and I'm nearly finished.
Okay, thank you.
The traders, employees and householders I'm sure would appreciate a rates freeze. I do think every dollar not going in rates and taxes can go back into the local economy to keep small business open and keep staff employed. I haven't seen any work that council's done on an alternative budget that has factored in a rates freeze. An open and transparent council should be putting the facts out to the community, not just speculation. This idea if we don't raise rates we'll have to be cut services isn't right if council hasn't done any work on an alternative budget. Just quickly on financial sustainability, according to the 1920 annual report, we recorded a $4.3 million surplus over the last 2 years. Our debt levels are around $14 million, fall well within the debt management policies of council. And that $14 million isn't going in the operations of council, it's going into better services and better outcomes for the community. It's going into the Reid Oval, into the library, and things like the LED lighting renewal. In 1920, council paid back around $1.7 million worth of debt. Yes, we have issues with asset management, but I'm sure council can manage these without hitting ratepayers. I don't see any point in blaming anyone else for the finances of council either. We are the new council. We are the ones driving the bus, and it's what we signed up for. The blame game has to stop, and we are responsible for our own decisions. This budget under a new council could have been a budget supporting the community, but in my view, it's a budget where council's supporting council.
Okay, any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Taylor, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Shelley. I'd like to endorse a lot of Councillor Blaine's comments on behalf of all the traders in the CBD. Thank you, Councillor Blaine, for congratulating a lot of the CBD traders on remaining there today and putting up with a lot of the conditions that we have to cope with every day. In my election campaign back in October to become a councillor, I campaigned heavily for free off-street car parking. And I would have liked to have seen 2-hour off-street car parking come through, but I'm happy to settle for an hour off-street car parking. It's better than nothing. It's better than free 2 hours from 9 to 11, which is the current free parking. Also in my campaign, I campaigned for the vitality of the CBD. And along with that, the increasing the car parking in the streets up 42.86%. I cannot see that doing any good for the vitality of the CBD. And staff car parking up 33.33%. Again, it is not good for the CBD. In contrast, Aquazone adult swims went up $7.10 to $7.20, 1.41%. Aquazone Gymnasium up 0.50%. Lighthouse Theatre, all charges up 4.5%. So I'm puzzled as to why the parking fees in the CBD are up astronomically. And that is all. Thank you, Mayor Shelley.
Thanks, Councillor Taylor. I'm pleased to support in the affirmative for the 2021-22 budget. Primary objective of a council is to endeavour to achieve the best outcomes for our community, having regard to long-term and cumulative effects of decisions. We've all sat in the room and heard the financials and the other things, so we've all heard the same information. In my role as a councillor, I wanted to safeguard the equitable setting of rates, regulate budgetary spending and ensure that resources are effectively and efficiently used and services are provided in accordance with community needs and are accessible and equitable for all. And again, with many councillors speaking tonight, I agree with lots of different things that we've said, and we don't all agree on everything, but we've touched on that. In the budget, we have made available assistance to all in financial need who qualify through the council's hardship provisions, as Councillor Ziegler reiterated there, for the rate rebates. We need to ensure that the decision-making process of our council is timely, fair and understandable for all. My decision has come through the current financial position and the council current financial position and valued community feedback from numerous community members across the sector, their opinions and their goals. We have made compromise, and again, when we were in our election period, where a lot of us have made compromise to things that we thought would happen when we came in. We've seen it might have to be different. Providing the 1 hour free off-street parking in designated car parks at any time during the day is a great compromise. And yes, maybe it could be changed and looked at over time. Parking fees have not risen for over 4 years, and there are approximately 2,000 free car parking spaces within the CBD area. Warrnambool doesn't have a parking problem. Warrnambool has a walking and attitude problem to all this. We need to change our thinking and encourage our community and our employees to park a few blocks away from their workplace or the shops and take advantage of the free parking and walk. Great for everyone's health and wellbeing and reducing the carbon footprint. So we all need to really think on that. One thing in the budget I'm really proud of is that we have provided to employ an Aboriginal officer to join the team here at Warrnambool City Council, and I think that's a great attribute that we've all put together, and we all agreed on that, which is great. My decisions have been made from the very, very best in interest and intentions for the city at heart. So thank you. Okay, there being no further speakers, Councillor Arnott, do you wish to speak again before the close of debate?
I would. Thank you, Mayor Jolly. As I stated, firstly, it's a very emotive topic. I would just like to make note also, everyone's been well aware of the effect of COVID, but COVID has also affected council's revenue. Now, this really has to be taken into account. 1 week lockdown cost council $250,000. Now, council is not an endless money tree. It really isn't. We need to be very mindful and very prudent with our spending. I do not think a 1.5% increase in rates is too much for anyone to bear. Like I said, we have, and Councillor Ziegler referred, we have a very good hardship policy in place. Warrnambool is not just about the CBD. We have a love of our entire city. So there has been a huge focus on just the CBD. Now, I do have businesses in the CBD, but I hope I am broader-minded to think beyond just the CBD. We have a lot of outlying hubs. We have Allansford, Woodford, Bushfield. We have lots of places to consider apart from just the CBD. So I think this budget is the right way forward for council. I think we are being prudent, and I think in time to come we will turn these finances around. We will find more efficiencies. We will find another income stream. So, but at this point in time, I feel this is really what has to happen. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, everyone's spoken. I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's 5. All those against? Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to call for a division.
Sorry.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for a division.
What? Yep, okay. Sorry. Okay, okay, those in favour?
Of what?
Councillor Ziegler, Councillor Coish, Councillor Arnott, Councillor Taylor.
Just a point of order, I think you've got to call the vote again before you nominate.
I'm sorry, this is something new. Okay, so put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Okay, Councillor Ziegler, Councillor Coish, Councillor Arnott, Councillor Taylor and Councillor Jelly. Those against? Councillor Paspaliaris and Councillor Blaine. 5-2, the motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, 4.4, Financial Plan, agenda page number 34. The purpose of this report is to consider Council's proposed financial plan for 2021-2022 for adoption. Are there any questions before I seek a motion? No questions. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
That we accept the officer's recommendations.
Okay. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please, just quickly. The long-term financial plan, which is our financial vision over the next 10 years, does show that there are some challenges coming up. But I do think if council is smart, council will need to be smart and innovative and work hard to be sustainable and in the way that they approach the next 10 years. So I'm happy to support.
Thank you. Councillor Ziegler, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mayor Jelly, the financial plan points out areas that are dear to my heart, things like waste minimisation and finding of efficiencies. And I think that given our budget situation, they'll be incredibly important in the coming years. So I'm happy to support that plan.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? No? All good. Okay, there are no further speakers. Councillor Blaine, do you wish to speak before closing the debate?
No, thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? It's 7. That's the motion carried unanimously. Thank you. So that brings us to the close of the meeting, and I declare the meeting closed at 6:28 p.m. Thank you.